Faust, the Devil's Bargain, that captivated leaders from Goethe to Merkel. What drives a brilliant mind to make a pact with the devil? What ultimate knowledge is worth risking one's soul? These haunting questions lie at the heart of Johann Wolfgang von Goethe's Faust, a masterwork so profound that it has captivated readers for over 2 centuries, from Chinese President Xi Jinping, who walked 30 miles to borrow a copy and memorized entire passages, to German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who witnessed firsthand how this literary giant could bridge cultures and forge diplomatic connections. The Faustian Bargain, a timeless tale of ambition. Faust tells the story of Heinrich Faust, a brilliant but tormented scholar who has mastered every field of human knowledge, philosophy, medicine, law and theology, yet finds himself spiritually empty and intellectually unsatisfied. Sound familiar? In our modern world of endless information yet persistent meaninglessness, Faust's existential crisis resonates more powerfully than ever. This is perhaps why leaders like Merkel, who navigated the complexities of 21st century governance, found such relevance in Goethe's 18th century masterpiece. Consumed by an insatiable thirst for ultimate knowledge and experience, Faust contemplates suicide before making a fateful decision that would echo through literature forever. He strikes a bargain with Mephistopheles, the devil himself. The terms are seductive yet terrifying. Mephistopheles will serve Faust on earth, granting him unlimited knowledge and earthly pleasures. But if Faust ever experiences a moment so perfect that he wishes it to last forever, his soul belongs to the devil. Part 1. The Descent into Passion and Tragedy. The first part of Goethe's epic follows Faust's transformation from an aging, world-weary scholar into a young, passionate man. Under Mephistopheles' influence, Faust abandons his scholarly pursuits and plunges into worldly experiences. The most devastating of these is his seduction of Gretchen, Margareta, an innocent young woman whose fate becomes inextricably linked with Faust's damnation. What begins as romantic infatuation spirals into a catastrophic tragedy that would make even the most hardened reader weep. Gretchen's story is one of the most heartbreaking in all literature. She bears Faust's child out of wedlock, accidentally kills her mother with a sleeping potion Faust provided, and is driven to infanticide in her desperation. As Gretchen faces execution for her crimes, Faust attempts to rescue her, but she chooses divine mercy over earthly escape, dying as a tragic martyr to love. This devastating conclusion to Part 1 demonstrates Goethe's genius. He shows us that the pursuit of unlimited experience without moral constraint doesn't lead to enlightenment, but to the destruction of innocence. It's a lesson that would have particular resonance for leaders like Merkel, who understood that power without ethical boundaries inevitably leads to human suffering. Part 2. The Quest for Meaning Beyond Personal Desire. The second part of Faust, completed when Goethe was in his 80s, takes us on an even more ambitious journey. Here, Faust's desires transcend personal gratification and evolve into grander ambitions. He becomes involved in imperial politics, encounters classical mythology through his union with Helen of Troy, representing the marriage of Germanic and classical cultures, and ultimately undertakes a massive land reclamation project. This transformation reflects a profound philosophical evolution. Faust moves from selfish pursuits to projects that benefit humanity, a progression that mirrors the development of any great leader. When Xi Jinping recited Faust passages to Angela Merkel, he was likely drawing on this very theme: the transformation from personal ambition to service of a greater good, a journey both leaders understood intimately. In his final act, the now blind, century-old Faust finds meaning in creating new land from the sea. providing homes for millions. As he envisions future generations thriving on this reclaimed territory, he experiences that fatal moment of satisfaction. Linger a while, thou art so fair. But here, Goethe delivers his most profound twist. Faust's soul is saved, not because he found a loophole in his contract, but because his final wish was altruistic, rather than selfish. The Merkel connection, literature as diplomatic bridge. The fact that Angela Merkel was pleased and impressed when Xi Jinping demonstrated his knowledge of Faust reveals something profound about the power of literature in international relations. Here were two leaders from vastly different cultural backgrounds finding common ground through a German literary masterpiece. For Merkel, this moment likely represented more than mere cultural pride. It demonstrated how great literature transcends borders and creates unexpected connections between world leaders. Merkel's own journey from East German physicist to Chancellor of Unified Germany mirrors, in some ways, Faust's evolution. Both faced the temptation of power and the challenge of using that power responsibly. Both grappled with the weight of decisions that would affect millions. While Faust made a literal pact with the devil, modern leaders make metaphorical ones, trading aspects of their personal lives and moral certainties for the ability to shape history. Eternal themes in a modern world. Faust endures because it addresses questions that every generation must confront. What is the price of knowledge? Can ambition coexist with morality? How do we find meaning in a world that seems to offer infinite possibilities but finite satisfaction? These questions were relevant in Goethe's time. They resonated during Merkel's chancellorship, and they remain urgent today. The character of Mephistopheles, charming, intelligent, and eternally cynical, represents more than just evil. He embodies the seductive voice of nihilism that whispers in every ambitious person's ear. He offers shortcuts to achievement and pleasure, while mocking the very idea that life has inherent meaning. In our age of instant gratification and moral relativism, Mephistopheles feels less like a supernatural figure and more like the voice of contemporary culture itself. The Faustian bargain in modern leadership. Perhaps this is why Faust continues to captivate political leaders. Every person in power faces Faustian moments, opportunities to compromise principles for expedient results, to choose between personal advancement and public good, to decide whether the ends justify the means. Merkel, during her 16 years as Chancellor, surely faced countless such moments, from the Eurozone crisis to the refugee crisis to the challenging relationship with Putin's Russia. The genius of Goethe's conclusion is that salvation comes not through avoiding the bargain, but through transforming it. Faust's redemption lies in his final realization that true satisfaction comes not from personal gratification, but from serving something larger than oneself. This message would have particular resonance for someone like Merkel, who devoted her career to public service and European unity. A living legacy. When Xi Jinping walked 30 miles to borrow a copy of Faust during his rural exile, he was seeking more than entertainment. He was searching for wisdom about power, morality, and human nature. When he later recited passages to Angela Merkel, he was demonstrating that great literature creates bridges between cultures and generations. Faust remains vital because it refuses to offer easy answers to life's hardest questions. Instead, it presents us with a mirror in which we can examine our own desires, ambitions, and moral choices. In a world where leaders and citizens alike face Faustian bargains daily, Goethe's masterpiece reminds us that redemption is possible, but only through the recognition that our highest fulfillment comes not from getting what we want, but from dedicating ourselves to something greater than our own desires. The devil's bargain that begins Faust may be fiction, but the choice between selfish ambition and selfless service that concludes it remains the most real choice any of us will ever make. If you liked the video, don't forget to leave a comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more.